Introducing Instagram teen accounts. A new way to keep your teen safer as they grow. Like making sure they always have their seatbelt on.
All right, sweetie pie, buckle up. Good job.
Or ring the bell on their bike.
Okay, kid, give it a try. Nice.
Or remember their elbow pads.
Knees too, okay? Yep. There you go.
New Instagram teen accounts. Automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And on tonight's episode, we're going to break down some of the pitchers in the Orioles minor league system that are getting off to hot starts. And there's a lot of arms at Aberdeen that we're going to shout out, but a handful of other pitchers, including Alex Pham at Chesapeake and Chase Alsop at Delmarva, are off to very good starts in their own right. And that is coming up on tonight's episode. Now, just we're recording this on Monday night. People are listening to this on Wednesday morning. Have your answers changed about whether or not you're panicking about the Orioles based on a game that has not happened yet?
Yeah, throw the season away. Sell, trade everybody. It's time to rebuild. Focus on this Aberdeen lineup coming up.
I was going to say, who's pitching the next game? Is it Kramer? I don't know. Whoever pitched Tuesday night, man, that 9-inning shutout was amazing. Go Orioles.
It's Charlie Morton, so that might not happen.
Okay, ignore what I just said.
5 innings, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks, 3 home runs allowed. There, you heard it here first. Now, we're going to dive into some of the pitching in the Orioles minor league system on this episode. And there's a lot of angles we could take, but I want to focus first on 2 guys that are making really early cases to being promoted to the next level. And maybe it feels premature to talk about promotions when some of the logjams holding these pitchers back have not quite cleared yet. And not to mention there are only 2 starts into their seasons. But Alex Pham and Chase Alsop have looked really dominant so far. Pham showed that last week in a start in which he struck out 9 batters in 5 1/3 innings pitched against Erie, while Alsop fanned 10 in an outing against Fayetteville. Overall, what is worth pointing out here is that for Pham, a lot of experience at AA level now, 189 innings pitched. Alsop, meanwhile, is a guy that we thought could start this year at Aberdeen based on the fact that he was drafted out of Auburn in last year's draft, which could put him on the path of pitchers like Jackson Baumeister and Levi Wells in beginning their professional careers at High A. Nevertheless, he began this season at Delmarva, where he has looked like a man amongst boys, striking out 14 batters while walking just 2 in 9 1/3 innings pitched. Nick, I will start with you here. With Pham and Alsop, what are you seeing for them so far this year and why they've been so successful?
Pham needs to get to Norfolk. He's done in AA, to be completely honest. He had like 1 bad inning. He got the opening day nod there for Chesapeake, and that first inning was pretty terrible. But then he finished the outing across his final 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. And then he followed it up with 9 strikeouts in 5 1/3 with 16 whiffs against Erie the other day. So, yeah, Pham is just, we know what it is. Like, there's no elite tool, but it's a deep pitch mix. It's pretty decent velo. It's commanding his pitches. It's kind of a sum of all parts here with Pham. And I want to see him up in AAA. He needs to be in. There are 2 pitchers on that Chesapeake staff that have no business being in Chesapeake right now, and Pham is one of them. I want to see him in Norfolk. Am I saying he's going to be some force for the Orioles down the road this year? Maybe, maybe not. No idea. But I do want to see him in AAA to see how that stuff plays at the AAA level, because he's done all he needs to do at this point there. And with also, that was fun. That outing. Didn't get to watch that first one in Salem. I don't know what happened to Salem. It's normally a really good broadcast and camera view, but this made Delmarva's old, bird's eye view look like a close-up shot. So couldn't watch those first 3 games of the year, but man, this last outing, when he's getting 10 strikeouts on 19 whiffs, fastball running into the upper 90s. I agree with, I know, Zach, you made this point in the Patreon episode this week, like, how much is he being challenged in low A? And I do question that as well. But I imagine, though, given that he has this deep pitch mix and there's changes, they tinkered with him. So maybe I get wanting to maybe let him feel comfortable with some tinkering that they've done, let him build up. He only had 60-something innings last year at Auburn. He was in the rotation, then he wasn't in the rotation, then he was back in the rotation. So limited innings. So I get wanting to build him up, let him settle in, and also, the log jam, yada, yada. But he did look like a man among boys down there against Delmarva. And you're talking about the Fangraphs list earlier on the last episode. Longenhagen also did a chat afterwards, and someone asked about Chase Alsop, and his response was he was 96 to 98 for most of his outing. This is that second outing, I believe. Cutter at 88 or so, slider 80, 82. Threw about that was the first outing. Threw about that hard each of his first 2 outings. Careful not to get too overzealous with him. That body is scary. Okay. And he's had a volatile performance in the past. Of course, he says claro, but of course, for the non-Spanish speakers, I have a favorable grade on him. For a guy who was a 4th rounder last year to be a 40 plus already is nuts. So promising as well there for Alsop. But yeah, he looked really, really good there in his outing this week.
Yeah, Alsop looked awesome. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger this early, but I honestly think they probably should. I'm looking at the depth chart here. I think there's going to be an opening at AAA Norfolk coming up very soon, so I could easily see Alex Pham sliding up. He's just not being challenged very much, I would say, at AA, repeating there. I think he's had enough of AA trying to get him up to AAA, and I'd like to see the data as well. And I'm assuming Peter Van Loon is the other guy you're talking about there.
I was going to say Keegan Gillies.
Yeah, him too.
But Peter Van Loon as well, so 3.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know if, say, Pham takes Brandon Young's spot at AAA, if that just gives them a chance to Edgar Portes, bad outing last time out, but Edgar Portes or Juan Nunez, maybe that's their chance to get more balk innings. They've been used in shorter stints so far, or if they would move up someone from Aberdeen. I'm just not seeing anyone that they would really pull the trigger on that quickly with to make room for Alsop, but I don't know. Alsop might be the guy that you don't really need to make room for him. You just kind of get him up there, get him challenged and make it work, because it seems like he's got a lot of upside, and like you said, you like to see him get challenged. That's the only way to get better, unless you're working on stuff. But yeah, I think both of these guys have been flawless so far, and I agree they need to be moved up sooner rather than later.
Nick, I know you've been pumping out a lot of data on these pitchers over on our social media, particularly at X. And how do you gear yourself up for that?
Good question. So because now that all these games are going on and we have tons of data to access now, throw a curveball here and tell you that because baseball is back in full swing, means I'm back on the grind, making sure that we can provide coverage of prospects from AAA Norfolk all the way down to Dominican Summer League, and to make sure I have all this energy and focus to pay attention to all these numbers and put on this production. We are continuing our Magic Mind routine, and we want to share this experience with our listeners. Magic Mind is a mental performance shot that you can take with your morning coffee. It's not a coffee replacement. It's not the quick boost and crash like an energy drink, but a support for your body's natural energy engine. Created with a scientific advisory board of doctors and medical researchers, Magic Mind uses the highest possible grade matcha and organically grown mushrooms that provide safe and effective stress reduction and a sense of calmness, Also, 5 cents of every bottle sold are used to support mental health charities that help U.S. homeless communities. And they are so confident in Magic Mind that they refund 100%, no questions asked, for up to 100 days after buying if you are not satisfied. You have a limited time offer now you can use that gets you up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase with code OTVLT20 at checkout. You can claim it at www.magicmind.com/OTVLT20.
Glad you're back on that read this week.
Now, as I said at the top of the show, we're going to shout out Aberdeen quite a bit in this episode. And part of that is because of how their pitching staff, which we knew coming into this season was strong on paper, looked last week against Jersey Shore. And the first guy I'm going to start with is Braxton Bragg, who was excellent in his second start of the season. He went 5 1/3 innings pitched without giving up a run, allowing just 1 hit, striking out 8 and walking 2. That allowed him to pick up the win. And this has been, for Bragg, a real journey over the last year or so. Guy kind of unheralded coming out of Dallas Baptist in the 2023 draft, put together an excellent season last year at Delmarva that was really bolstered by maybe the strongest second half of any pitcher in the Orioles minor league system. So he was on our top 50 list coming into this year. But he stands to move up pretty far right now based on what we've seen in the early goings of the season. And Nick, I know this is something you've been highlighting over on social media. The fastball velocity seems to have ticked up a little bit with Bragg. And although his command was not great in his first start, where he walked 3 batters in 4 innings pitched, it did look much better last week.
Yeah, I liked in his first start, the broadcast mentioned he's been 94 to 97, topping out at 98, and now throwing a 4-seamer, a 2-seamer, a cutter, a sweeper, and a kick change. And again, going back to, we know Kate Povich with the kick change, Braxton Bragg apparently developing one. Someone asked Eric Longenhagen if this is like a system-wide thing. The Orioles are just teaching everybody kick changes. And he said his Orioles contact would not confirm. But when you have multiple pitchers adding kick changes, I think you can put the puzzle pieces together. The second outing, I loved it. The Jersey Shore broadcast, I think their velo gun is better. I know years ago it was like 3 or 4 miles cold, because I remember posting a video being super excited, like when we first started, like, we got velo. And then one of the Aberdeen coaches DMing us and being like, that gun is ice cold. It's like 4 miles per hour harder this guy was throwing yesterday. But I think it was pretty on par. Like, he topped out at 96 in the cold, rainy weather the other day. 8 strikeouts, no runs across 5+ innings. A lot of just awkward swings. I think the stuff just looks so much better with Bragg. Maybe it's a better camera angle, but like the hitters, there's a lot of just the awkward swings, like guys anticipating fastball, but then it's a changeup. So maybe maybe it's the arm speed looks, between the arm speed and tunneling these pitches very well. Whatever it is, it's working there for Braxton Bragg. Just a lot of flailing around at the plate Thursday night against Jersey Shore. The velo did dip down to like 91, 92 before he got to 50 pitches, I noted. And I was like, oh, here we go. It's cold, but yeah, don't love seeing the velo dip that low that quickly. And then next inning, he was back up to 95. So clearly just maybe working on something there. But he's been very, very impressive his first 2 outings.
Yeah, he went from, in 2024, before his great second half, being like, this could be an interesting reliever, to after 2024, the second half being like, oh, maybe like a Darren O'Day type of really solid side armor reliever. And now I'm like, this could be a middle of the rotation starter potentially if he can sustain that velocity and continue to tinker with this stuff, because the arm angle definitely creates another wrinkle on top of the typical Orioles pitcher. So very, very happy with Braxton Bragg's ability to command and lead, and he's already better than the other Braxton Bragg for sure.
2 other guys that we talked about a little bit in our last episode, but we want to touch on them more here: Trey Gibson and Michael Ferret. Gibson made his season debut last Wednesday and put together a pretty nice outing. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, while allowing just 2 hits with 1 run and walking only a pair of batters. Ferret followed up later in the week And as part of Saturday's doubleheader, went 5 shutout innings, giving up just 1 hit, striking out 5 and walking 3. And so far for Ferret, through his first 9 2/3 innings pitched, he has yet to give up a run, has allowed just 3 hits, and has struck out 10 while walking 5. So the early returns for 2 of the better breakout stories of the 2024 season in Gibson and Ferret have been very positive here in 2025.
Yeah, I think his velocity was like 92, 93 on the fastball. Ferret, I'm speaking of, but clearly the pitch mix is working for him, and we know he can probably hit faster than that when it warms up a little bit. But you gotta love what you're seeing. Returning to high A, maybe he could be the guy that gets up to double A if there's a spot opened, if they want to do that. But yeah, he looks looks older than his years. As far as just mound presence, just looks like he's in complete control up there. And Trey Gibson, yeah, we talked about it. For liberty and justice for all, 7 strikeouts in 3 2/3. Yeah, he looks like he just picked up right where he left off. Love to see that. And this whole rotation, and we'll get to the other guys soon, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, Ferret, I mean, the big thing so far is like he's not throwing a ton of strikes. I think the last outing he was only at 55% strikes, but the walks aren't great as well. But I mean, clearly when he's throwing strikes, guys aren't hitting him so far at this high level, which is why I thought for sure he was going to be in double A, considering we know how much the organization internally loves him. And to see him back at high A was a little disappointing to start the year, but I think he gets up. He's one of the first arms called up to double A, considering what he's done up to this point. And Gibson, yeah, I noticed, talking about all the velo and Aberdeen, Gibson's outing, pull up my thing here. So Gibson went 3 2/3, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And he had 13 whiffs. And I don't know if this is just his personality or he was just taking it easy, because he seemed to really cruise through his outing. And he was mostly like 92, 93. And we know that he's like mid to upper 90s and gained a lot of velo as over the course of last year. So I'm expecting 95, 96s. He's sitting 92, 93, but he had this like sly grin on his face all night. Just like, yeah, I'm throwing 90. I'm at like 80% right now, and you guys can't hit me type of grin on his face. And then they took him out, and I know he was like laughing when they took him out of the game, like with his catcher. I think it was Ethan Anderson behind the plate, but whoever the catcher was, just like laughing, not like, why are you taking me out? But like, that was so easy kind of laugh. I guess that's just, the cold weather. I think these Aberdeen arms, they're kind of taking it easy, especially, first start, second start. So I'm interested to see when the weather warms up, what these guys' velo looks like, but we know Gibson can hit up into the upper 90s. So it's, again, like I mentioned on the last episode, talking about the Fangraphs list, for national evaluators to look at that data kind of blindly and just say, this is a major league mid-rotation starter. For an undrafted guy, he's got a long way to go to reach that, obviously, but pretty good find.
So, Bob, I want to go back to you here because you kind of alluded to somebody else at Aberdeen that you wanted to shout out. I think I know who it is, but can you tell our listeners?
Yeah, I want to say Blake Money is off to a pretty good start as well. Both outings, I think, were pretty much identical. 4 innings each, couple hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And him, like Bragg, is a guy that was at Delmarva all last season and probably had reason to be at Aberdeen at some point in the second half of last year, but there wasn't room. So it's just nice to see that, having that early success and continuing to develop. Also, Nestor Herman, he didn't have the greatest, a rare bad command game for him in his second start of the year, but he still got 11 strikeouts over 6 2/3. So clearly this stuff is still playing, but I just love Aberdeen as a whole. If there was one team you had to ride all year long, well, let's say a couple months, because not all these guys are going to be there all year long. That would be the team. They are fun to watch right now.
With Herman, it wasn't even the whole game. It was 1 inning. Like that was it with Herman. I don't know what happened. He completely lost control in his final inning of that last outing.
What a killer Morphe.
We could talk about Keeler Morphe, but like Herman, considering everything he's done up to this point, one bad inning, I don't care about. I just want to quickly to bring him back since we're talking about Aberdeen pitchers. I think he was my deep sleeper pick a couple weeks ago when the rosters came out. But Dominic Freeberger, 2 1/3 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Pretty good for a third baseman pitching down there in Aberdeen.
It's very nice. Good start for him. And any other pitcher system-wide that you guys want to touch on before we move on to talk about Keeler Morphe? Because you look up and down the system right now, you've got some pitchers that are off to good starts. Pat Riley had a nice outing for Chesapeake on Sunday. Kyle Bronovitz has looked great at Norfolk so far this year. So there's a lot of places we can go, but who has stood out to you guys so far that maybe we haven't mentioned yet? Without giving the final segment away, of course. I
have a very random shout out, and I think Cade Stroud is off to a better start than his straight ERA would indicate. He's got a 5.14 ERA over 7 innings pitched so far. But for me, what I see is 7 innings pitched, 14 strikeouts, 3 walks. If he keeps that rate up, he's in Baltimore by July or August. I mean, he's got the stuff, clearly. Striking out 2 batters an inning and only walked 3 batters in 7 innings. Like, that's pretty spectacular for Cade Stroud. So keep it up, Cade.
Love watching Cade Stroud so far this year. Making sure I don't... Who else can we shout out here? Quickly, I guess... Where did my notes go? All right. Go to Chesapeake and Keegan Gillis. I just mentioned earlier, 3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts. He's 3 for 3 in save opportunities. He slams the door shut each outing, and I love the passion. He stomps his way off the mound, pounding his arms and chest after each save. I love what he's doing with Chesapeake right now. Get him up to Norfolk, and let's see what this monster of a human being can do on the mound in AAA.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Are your ulcerative colitis symptoms proving difficult to manage? Tremfya guselkumab can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. At 1 year, many patients taking Tremfya achieved clinical remission, and some patients also achieved endoscopic remission. Individual results may vary. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Ask your doctor if Tremfya can help you manage the cycle of UC symptoms. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more, or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Unplug your cleaning routine with the Ryobi 18-volt ONE+ cordless cleaning lineup. From the soap-dispensing telescoping power scrubber to the advanced stick vacuum, Ryobi has a solution for every cleaning task. One battery powers over 300 products, giving you the power to do more. Exclusively at the Home Depot.
And Yeber Cartaya, if we're going to talk about transition to Delmarva and Keeler Morphe, Yeber Cartaya, another guy who we have highlighted a lot over the offseason. That first outing was very Keeler Morphe-like. Both these guys just refused to throw a strike in their first starts. I watched his second start, and Cartaya, actually the first 2 innings or so, he was really good, and I really enjoyed it. I think he looked stronger. The delivery, I think, looks more mature. He just lost control in the third inning of that outing or so, but I think his second outing looked much better than what the final stat line showed. I think he still racked up 6 or 7 strikeouts in a couple of innings. Cartaya, I'm not too concerned about either right now, despite how bad that first start was. But yeah, we can go for an hour and a half talking about the pitching so far.
Yeah, and one other guy that I'll just kind of say to keep your eye on here, who statistically might not be off to the greatest start, Asel Correa. You look at the ERA right now for the Shorebirds, and it is a little bit on the high side, sitting at 6.75, but he's walked only one batter in 8 innings pitched so far this year with 9 strikeouts. So hopefully he starts to have a little bit more luck as we get into the season. Now, we'll talk about Killer Morphe. 2 starts into this season, he has yet to make it out of the first inning. Combined between those 2 outings, he has thrown 1 inning this season, has walked 10 batters, and struck out 2. I had a pretty deep dive into Morphe's most recent outing against Fayetteville last week as part of our weekly recap over at Patreon. So there's a lot that a lot of thoughts I have on this, but I'm curious, what are you guys seeing right now, and are you concerned about the way he's pitching possibly dragging on this season? Maybe a sign of some issues to come, or is this a blip on the radar?
Hopefully a blip. I mean, just like Kate Stroud, he's striking out 2 batters per inning. Unfortunately, he's walking 10 per inning. But yeah, I think it's just, I mean, again, bad weather, cold weather. Maybe that has something to do with it. But honestly, why would a batter going up against this 18-year-old with electric stuff even lift the bat off their shoulder at this point until he can prove that he can throw strikes? I mean, it's 4 pitch walks, 5 pitch walks. It's not even close. So, yeah, I think it's just obviously something, the way his delivery is, like you broke it down really well, Zach, on the Patreon episode, but they have to figure out a way for him to be able to hit the strike zone. Even if it's over the middle of the plate, that's better than trying to hit the edges and just not being able to find the strike zone whatsoever. Not really worried long term. He's still 18 years old. It's been 2 outings, the first 2 outings of the year. The stuff is still the stuff, but obviously want to see him last games more than 7 batters or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no way to sugarcoat this or anything. It's been pretty awful, and I do agree. It seems like watching his last outing, it was a lot like the spring breakout game, where it was just that he has no idea where the fastball is going, and that wasn't an issue last year. Like, yeah, he had one blow up outing, I think his last one maybe with Delmarva, but he came up and found instant success with Delmarva last year. But it was a lot like the spring breakout game, where the fastball, he might get one over, and then he gets a little too jittery, and the next one's going above the hitter's head. And it's almost like you can tell. I don't know if I get this, maybe I just sense it. I don't know. But or if the arm speed is actually that drastic. But also, like, why would guys not be swinging? I almost feel like they'd be ready to hammer the slider. Maybe they think he can't throw the slider for a strike either, but it does feel like everything gets slowed down when he throws a slider, and that lands right across the plate, and that's a strike. But then they know he's going to come back with a fastball, and it's going to go over their head in the next pitch. So I guess that's why they're not swinging at the slider either. Although, like, I can tell on MILB TV that the slider's coming because it just feels slowed down. It's weird. I don't know. But I will also say, yeah, the age thing, the organization clearly would not have promoted him from the Dominican Summer League to Delmarva last year if they didn't believe in the stuff. They would not have given him the first inning nod in that spring breakout game, or even put him on the roster if they didn't believe his stuff. There are 50 other pitchers they could have given that spot to. And also, he started last year in the Dominican Summer League. He didn't come to Delmarva until, August or something? Could this be the first time he's ever in his life experienced 30-degree weather? I mean, that could be a situation as well. Like, the kid, the lights are brighter, and the kid is freezing cold and has no idea how to handle himself out there on the mound. Let's give him a couple more starts, but if we're not seeing any progress soon, I imagine there's like an IL stint or development list stint, something to bring him back to Sarasota and maybe calm him down a little bit.
Yeah, what I broke down on the Patreon episode is that, to me, and you both hit the nail on the head, the delivery, just the tempo to me is too quick. And you're absolutely right, Nick. You can tell when the slider is coming just based on the speed of the delivery. And in that start against Fayetteville, early on in the inning, he was trying to paint the corners with the fastball, and he was missing. He wasn't missing by a ton, but he was missing. And then the more he got himself into a jam, every fastball was up over the hitter's head. He was constantly missing up with the pitch. The delivery was getting faster. The follow-through was getting more exaggerated. I said it kind of looked like seeing a top spin around, the way that Morphe follows through sometimes. And that's how it looked when he got later into that inning against Fayetteville. And really in these bullpen sessions between starts, I have to think there's going to be a lot of work on tempo. Because to me, a lot of the problems with Morphe from what I'm seeing lie there, that he's just working a little bit too quick. He's getting a little bit too amped up. There was a ground ball to Yasmiel Bousset at first base in that inning against Fayetteville that if Bousset comes up with it, it's at least an out at second, maybe an inning-ending double play. And, he should have come up with that ball. But then from there, Morphe just couldn't stop the inning. It just kept spiraling out of control. So he's really got to figure out the tempo with his delivery. And I think you're both right that this adjustment to the cold weather is not something that's to be overlooked, especially when he's 18 and has never pitched stateside other than that short stint at Delmarva at the end of last season. So I think he's going to get it eventually, but there's clearly some room for development here early on.
I just remember us describing his fastball as attacking the zone with it. And that is not the case right now. This is very much the opposite.
It's fine. Give these kids some time. It's all right. It's April 14th. Again, give him 2 more starts. And if he still can't make it out of the first inning, again, the conversation is going to be a little bit different. But he's also still 18 years old. There's a lot.
Exactly.
Everybody got super excited last year. No reason not to still be super excited about what this kid's doing. It's pretty wild when, again, to reference the Fangraphs Top 50 list, they talk about in the Esteban Mejia blurb, they're like, yeah, he doesn't throw nearly as hard as, Keeler Morphe does, the flamethrower Keeler Morphe down there in Delmarva, but Esteban Mejia sits 96 to 98 miles per hour. That's how hard this kid is throwing. So maybe it's a matter of, maybe working with some mental skills coordinators or something and slowing everything down for him. But
yeah, and I should note that we didn't get any velocity readings from Delmarva's broadcast when Morphe was on the mound last week. But to me, the fastball velocity looks fine. I don't think that there's an issue there. I think he just has to get his feel back for being able to get the pitch in the strike zone.
Absolutely.
And with that, now we will go into our final segment of the episode. Last Call, brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing, located at 1421 Ridgely Street in Baltimore. Checker Spot Brewing is the perfect place for a pre- or post-game beverage when you're checking out the Orioles at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And when you head to games this year, be sure to check out the beer stand behind home plate where you can get one of Checker Spot's signature beers, The Bird is the Word. And with the Orioles in the middle of a long homestand right now, this week would be the perfect time to do so. And as part of our Last Call segment this week, we're going to do our usual thing where we highlight players outside the top 30 portion of our top 50 list for something they've done recently, whether it's been a good game, a good week, or maybe just something interesting in their stat line that we want to shout out. Now, I'm going to start with Nick here, who is cheating kind of this week, but he felt it was really important to highlight these hitters, and I don't disagree. So, Nick, take it away.
yeah, I missed a week and then I come back and I break all the rules. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly shout out Aaron Estrada and Leandro Arias just because of their starts. We talk a lot about pitching, but these guys down there in Aberdeen, Estrada, haven't seen the power yet, but he's playing, again, we talk about the weather all episode. He's still hitting 353 with an 8% walk rate and a 10% strikeout rate and a 140 WRC plus, 90% contact rate right now with a 5% swinging strike rate. I will say I noticed the other day that he was playing in left field, so I paid close attention to the defense, and it was a disaster, to say the least. He's played 3 games in left field, 1 at short, 1 at third, and 3 at second base. And so when I watch him make some terrible plays out in left field, and then I read the Fangraphs list this morning, and Eric notes he doesn't think Estrada has the hands to play in the infield. That is concerning, but young guy, the bat is playing very well. Would love to see the power spike again when it gets warmer, but he's hitting the cover off the ball, as is Leandro Arias. Wasn't he the walk-off guy at the spring breakout game? So carrying that over here to the regular season, he's doing exactly what I said I hope he would do when we talked about the Aberdeen and roster preview episode. Forget the power, ride the hit tool, and he's hitting 370 with a 149 WRC plus, 12% walk rate with a 9% strikeout rate. He's played third base, he's played shortstop, he's played both very well. Number of highlight reel plays, so paying attention to his defense there. Good range, strong arm. I've loved what both those guys have done, so wanted to make sure we highlight them before they both go 0 for 15 next week and make me look dumb. That's normally how it goes with this segment. But my pitchers, you mentioned Kyle Branovich early on, and I just highlighted again through 2 starts or 3 outings. Can't remember how many it is, but he's striking out 32% of guys and just 7+ feet of extension. Fastball is a 104 stuff plus right now. His entire repertoire is a 101 stuff plus. I don't know who this Kyle Branovich is, but I like him a lot. But the guy I really wanted to highlight was Evan Yates. There's a long list of Orioles pitching prospects getting national love, more that we've been highlighting that haven't quite caught the attention of national outlets yet. But I think we might be adding another arm to the list of intriguing lower level pitching prospects to keep an eye on, maybe. Yates, again, the Orioles drafted 2 pitchers out of Cal State Fullerton last year. Christian Rodriguez in the 10th round, Evan Yates in the 20th round. He made his pro debut last year in high A, but he's in Delmarva to start this year to stretch him out as a starter. And his first start was 4 innings, no runs, 4 hits, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. I don't have any data on the outing, strictly watching it for myself. And the box score line, fantastic outing from Evan Yates. Yeah, no velo readings from Delmarva broadcast. Again, you can slip those in every once in a while, Delmarva, if you're listening. That would be greatly appreciated. But he looked pretty solid in his debut.
Yeah, completely agree with the Evan Yates call out. And my pitcher is along the same lines, 14th round pick from last year, Cohen Aiken, who got his professional debut in his first start for the Orioles this past week, went 4 innings, gave up 1 hit, 2 walks with 6 strikeouts. And yeah, it looked, again, stuff looked good. We don't have the data, we don't have the velocity, but it's a nice little debut by Cohen Aiken. Excited to see how his career continues to grow. And I cheated a little bit with 2 hitters from Delmarva in my hitters and didn't cheat quite as hard as Nick did, but I had to do something here. Braylon Tavera, shout out to him, who he had 1 home run all of last year with Delmarva. He's already got 1 this year, hit 1 this week. This week he was batted 231 with a 906 OPS and a 156 WRC plus. So just for a guy that struggled a lot last year, it was nice to see him have some early success. His overall batting average is still 190, but he's walking 18.5% of the time, has a 190 ISO. If he can just, get that up a little bit, the batting average and everything, that will raise all the ships in the harbor. I forget the saying. Braylon Tavera, still hope to be had there. And then I talked about him a tiny bit on the last podcast, Fernando Peguero, who was a guy that played like at AAA a little bit last year just to fill in, like Nolberth Romero style. And then he had a terrible week in the first weekend with Low A Delmarva, but he had a great week this week. He batted 417 with an 1132 OPS, 230 WRC plus, walked 26.3% of the time, struck out 21.1% of the time. Overall, he's batting 269, 732 OPS, 15% walk rate, 123 WRC plus. And for a guy that, can play, again, it could be Aaron Estrada style defense, but he can play all over the infield and the outfield. So another potential utility guy down the road if things break right. He just turned 20 years old in December.
I'll start off with my hitter this week, and that's Ryan Stafford. Stafford has gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, especially compared to some guys that we talked about in our last segment, Austin O'Verne and Vance Honeycutt at Aberdeen. But he kind of came along over the weekend at Jersey Shore, going 4 for 13 over the final 3 games of that series, including a 2 for 5 performance on Sunday. And then for my pitcher, I'm going to go with Carter Rustad. And Rustad, a 15th round pick last year out of Missouri, is a guy that you should have on your radar this season. First of all, he's gotten off to a very nice start at Del Mar, a 5 1/3 innings pitch, 7 strikeouts against just 2 walks over 3 appearances. And to give a little bit of background, Rustad was actually drafted by the Brewers out of Staley High School in Kansas City, Missouri in the 23rd round of the 2019 draft. He did not sign and then began his college career at the University of San Diego before transferring to Missouri, where he got time as both a starter and a reliever, though he was more so out of the bullpen at Missouri. Not only has Rustad looked good on the field to this point in the season, but he also got a nice shout out from Eric Longenhagen over at Fangraphs. Like I said in our last episode, you need to go beyond the top 50 reports to really get the full depth of Fangraphs list. And the reason for that is for a guy like Rustad, who was shouted out in the final part of Eric's report. Eric noted that the fastball velocity for Rustad so far this season has been 94 to 96, after he was primarily sitting 92 to 93 in college last year. We'll see if he sustains this as the season goes on, but so far, fastball velo has ticked up, and the results have been very good for Rustad at this point in the year. And with that, that does it for... Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just saying he has been good. And one more name just to throw out there for a guy who performed well this week, really the first 2 weeks of the year. We're all cool with trading Samuel Basayo because we got Ethan Anderson in the system now. Because, my God, that guy can hit.
Hey, Adley Rutschman, who needs to extend him? We got Adley Rutschman Jr. right behind him.
He is raking right now, and it's been very fun to watch, really, since he came into the system last year. I suspect we're going to be talking about him a lot this season. And with that, that does it for this week's episode. We will be back next week to break down all things going on in Birdland. In the meantime, you can check us out on our many social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. We're also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon and sign up to become a paying member of our community today. At the $3, $5, and $10 levels, you will have access to bonus weekly shows from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly updates to our top 50 prospects countdown list. We're just a couple of weeks away from the first monthly update of the 2025 season, so you're not going to want to miss that. Head over to Patreon today to sign up and become a member. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Sved. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.